Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Reidox4life Podcast Show. And we're your hosts. I am Levi, and this is Lamika Renee. And today, ladies and gentlemen, our topic is how service providers are making a difference in their community. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest, and his resume is so extensive. I'm just going to leave it up to him to tell you what his resume is. But we have Dr. Stan Pierce.
Yes, thank you for being here, Stan.
My pleasure, guys. Thanks for inviting me on your podcast. I'm excited.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. I'm sure our viewers would love to know who Dr. Stan Pierce is and what are your biggest challenges in your line of work?
So, who I am, I think I like to suffer because I choose a profession that we serve and serve and serve and serve. And there's a lot of gratitude in that service that, you get from helping others. But there's also, constantly being a servant, it's a draining profession. It can be. When you're constantly caregiving, sometimes you're not care receiving as much as you need to. So, and then inside that, the wonderful chiropractic profession of service, and there's also the desire to make it better. And that is an ongoing passion and almost an addiction, is how do we make this better? That's not comfortable, and that's not that you don't solve that with vacationing all the time. So I'm an endless worker, endless innovator. I'm trying to find and fix challenges that are keeping people from obtaining the quality of life they deserve, and how we can and the challenges inside our profession that are blocking us from being a easier access to the healthcare system and more prevalently utilized. So for me, I've had a lot of you asked me to mention about the resume. I don't want to go through it too much, but because of that ongoing incessant obsession with innovating and the results that tend to follow that, I've had some cool opportunities. We were recruited to work in Dubai Healthcare City and install Epic technique in the ground floor of Healthcare City. I've been blessed with being given a Chiropractor of the Year by Sherman College 3 years ago, by the Upper Cervical Council of the ICA 2 years ago, last year actually, and different awards. We got recognized by one of the sharks from Shark Tank about what we're doing. So we have a lot of powerful innovators and leaders in different fields that tend to come to our conference each year, the symposium conference that we hold, because they see what we're doing. So we're challenging the status quo. That's not easy. So, when you ask what are the biggest challenges in my line of duty, I look at that from a couple of perspectives. I'm a fourth generation chiropractor, so my heritage is, my family knew BJ Palmer. They have the stories. My grandma used to cook. My grandmother used to cook for him. Southern fried chicken and green beans. My father saved him when he was drowning, falling off the boat. His son David was my grandfather's best friend. They used to ride around Palmer campus on a big dog the size of a small horse and get yelled at for riding the horse into the classes. It's just like there's tons of connections with the foundation of chiropractic that you might say that automatically would lead me into wanting to make the profession better, but in reality, I'm just really, really competitive. I'm extremely competitive. We were meant to win in life. We're created to be winners, and we serve a Lord that is made us to win. So when I don't see our profession winning in the most important ways of getting to more people and getting those people better and better and better results, then it frustrates me. The challenge is often our profession tends to kind of lean on recognizing the historical achievements, looking back at what others have done, instead of the exciting part, which is looking to the future. What are we meant to do? What are we designed to do? How can we make this profession better? And so in our profession, there's a segment of the profession that is addicted to the history and duplicating what others before us have done. And there are not many people who are the innovators of the future. So like my biggest fans these days, Elon Musk. I follow him all the time. I let the things that he inspires him, those are the same things that inspire me. So, and yet BJ Palmer had a lot of those same inspirations. So it's a very interesting dichotomy, but the challenges in our profession is so many people are looking in the rearview mirror and complaining about why aren't we further along, and not that many people are changing that scenario. So there's a bit of an apathy, almost like a comfort zone, and chiropractors are often so frustrated by doctors of physical therapy doing spinal manipulation, or MDs taking a weekend course, and now they're cracking necks, and we start to complain that they're infringing on our territory, rather than just increasing the power of our territory so strong and being so far ahead of them with technological advancements that they can't touch us. Yes. And so it's kind of a scarcity, poverty, victim mentality on one side, and it's the courageous, brave, winning innovators on the other side. And so that's who I align myself with. We're the creators of the future, and that's a challenge.
Yes, definitely. Well said. I love that. So much so that you have invented this technology, called integrated genesis. Or did I say
Integrity
that right?
Genesis.
It's integrity genesis.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, integrated. Hell, that comes from my project management background. I use that word all the time.
No worries, brother.
All right. Yes. Could you explain a little bit about that, and and how you connect, and how you come up with the idea, and how you connected this to this idea to chiropractic profession?
That's a great lead-in question. Thank you for that. This is an interesting question because it can unfold so many different ways. One, the Integrity Genesis is a patented, FDA registered, highest technology for chiropractic adjusting that exists. Where did it come from? Why does it exist? Is a very important point. When you're the head of a technique, because I run a technique called EPIC, Evolutionary Percussive Instrument Corrections. It's an upper cervical specific technique. But one of the upper cervical techniques that doesn't outlaw full spine adjusting. We just respect the brainstem area and its vascular implications to the brain and the overall neurologic above, down, inside out effects on the body. We respect that so much that we want to do a great job with the brainstem. We don't want to play games up there. So we focus our precision, our expertise on mastering that. But we're not opposed to full spine adjusting once that's clear and stable. And that's kind of rare in upper cervical. I mean, in chiropractic, but especially in upper cervical, that you collaborate upper cervical specific and full spine specific. Having said that, the technique leaders have a challenge of not making other techniques wrong when trying to show how they believe their technique to be right. And what I've kind of learned is we are all working with wrong procedures. And our goal is to make them less wrong, in a pursuit that maybe eventually they will be right. And yet in our insufficiencies, because we're not God, we don't have the knowledge of perfection. There is no perfect adjustment being done every time by every chiropractor, no matter how good your intentions are. There's always human error. There's always diagnostic insufficiencies. There's things that we all need to keep getting better at. And yet even in the lack of perfection, we still see amazing miracles, all of us, regardless of your technique. So the Integrity Genesis is kind of, it solves a couple of concerns inside our profession. One of those concerns is if it's a profession, chiropractic, done by hand means there's a human involved, and therefore it's vulnerable to human error. It's vulnerable to difficulties with duplication. I mean, how many times can you guarantee a patient that the quality of their adjusting outcome at 9 a.m. is going to be the same at 6 p.m.? You had a good workout the day before. How sore are you the next day? Did that affect your adjustment? Are you dehydrated, malnourished? Does that affect your adjustment? Are you focused? How's your spiritual life? Did your front desk person show up? There's so many things that go into your ability, and we train as in the art of chiropractic. We actually train to be as robotic as we can with duplicating our adjustment. And yet we aren't robots. And they're saying, well, there's elements of the human touch, which is true, but the vulnerability in the marketplace to the product of chiropractic care not being duplicatable, not just the doctor himself, but clinic by clinic or as a profession, we do not all produce the same results. We don't. That doesn't mean that we should talk about other techniques being inferior to ours or anything like that at all, because we're all helping people. But we got to confront why only 8% of people are utilizing chiropractors. Why have 25% of people used chiropractic services according to the Adams study, but 2/3 of them have dropped out? Only a third of them has gone in the last year. So if 8% of people are currently using chiropractic services, that means 92% of people are not buying what our profession is selling. If we actually want to help more people, we have to confront that. So I spent a lot of time focusing on that, and where the integrity genesis came from is if you want to be able to duplicate an adjustment, and we're trained to be like instruments, then the use of an instrument, whether it's an activator, integrator, different things people use, the use of an instrument can help potentially increase your consistency of your care and your ability to duplicate into your associate that works in your satellite office or in your office. If you go on vacation, do all the patients want to run because they don't want to see the new guy? Well, in Epic, one of our claim to fames is that we can take a brand new graduate and get them producing the same exact results as a 20-year vet, 25-year vet, because it's protocols and technology. It's not a matter of your magic hands. That's not popular to some people in the profession who want to be the magic hand person. But I always say, is your patient's care vulnerable if you die? Or could somebody else step in and produce the same quality of care you're producing? And people don't think like that. They think about, in my lifetime, I'm serving and everyone loves me and my name. So the integrity genesis is the highest end instrument for precision upper cervical care. It's the only 3 axes sound wave adjusting instrument that has existed. It is laser targeted, digital calibrated. It's just kick ass. I told you I hardly ever cuss it, unless I'm excited, and it's amazing. And it was hard, and it took years to develop, and it shouldn't exist except for God's hand was really all over this. Because in the whole time of developing it, we were being hit and hit and hit, and the enemy will block you. The enemy will try to block you, but once again, we're designed to win. So that's where the integrity genesis came from, and what it does. It uses a sound wave alignment on exact 3 axes coordinates. It's a spinal engineering device, actually, and it will use a sound wave to align the vertebrae in exact position, measured on digital radiographs beforehand to see the malpositions. And in Epic, we also measure the epigenetic asymmetries of the bone. So basically, we see how a patient developed through innate development, and then how they were misaligned through whatever traumas in their life. Combine both the epigenetic profile and the misalignments into customizing the adjustment precisely for that patient on their exact degree.
Wow,
and that line of drive is that line of drive is then calibrated into the instrument, and we apply an exact correction with what we know now. And in our trying to get better, we keep learning more, and hopefully the future is brighter than the present.
Excellent. Glad to hear that. I love that. So let me ask Stan, or let me say this. So this technology is so good that you in fact donated this to one of your alma maters.
Not mine. I donated to Sherman College. I'm a Life U boy. I graduated in '99. I knew Sid Williams. He knew my family, and I love that school. But Sherman's not my alma mater, but I have a big passion for Sherman. You know, they're trying to drive philosophical quality chiropractic care into the field. So I have a big passion for them. They were open to not only receiving it, they developed a suite, an adjusting suite for the Epic technique at the school. We donated it to them, and we're looking to make more donations in the future to other schools as they become receptive to it. Excellent. But it's not a magic machine. And that's the thing that people screw up on. It's protocols, it's biomechanics, it's competency. A machine's like a baseball bat. You could use it to hit home runs, you could use it to strike out. So you've got to be trained on it. And you can't just say, hey, I bought one of those machines and now look at my results. It's all about protocols and tech and precision.
Excellent. Love that.
Is there a preventative method after precision is done?
Great question. So you're kind of leading into the mystery of this whole thing, and that is when I say to people, patients don't get well from being adjusted. They get well from holding the adjustment. Because if you adjust them and put them in place and it goes right back out, you have to keep adjusting and adjusting 3 times a week. That means it's out 4 days a week. So if you adjusted it and it stayed in place, would innate staying clear accomplish more? Absolutely. We tell people all the time, the longer you stay out of alignment, the more screwed up you get. Well, the longer you stay in alignment, the healthier you get. So what you're talking about is you're starting to reference into the idea of when you say prevention, most of the time when you ask chiropractors why patients won't hold adjustments, they almost always are going to blame the patient. Almost always. It's their stress. It's they've been out of alignment so long. It's their mattress. It's their pillow. It's their purse. It's their ergonomics. It's their kids. It's their diet. It's their exercise. It's and then the biggest one we blame is it's muscle memory. Like muscles have a memory. Break the spinal cord, and that paralyzed person's muscles don't remember how to walk.
Mm-hmm.
The nervous system controls the muscles. The nervous system, if you're going to say it has a memory, well, we all know the reason we train to be expert adjusters is because the better we clear a patient out, the better they do. The better we clear the subluxation, the better they do. So what if clearing the subluxation at higher levels, maybe even putting people into their epigenetic normal position, maybe reducing 4 multidirectional misalignments, what if clearing that out gave innate more clearance? Would innate then tell the muscles how to properly support the alignment, and maybe people would hold adjustments longer? I know the answer, but you guys can just think about it. It's a pretty obvious answer. So when I hear people say, oh, I won't ever hold adjustments, my muscles pull me out of alignment, immediately I'm thinking, you're not being cleared out good enough. That's not what innate does. Innate doesn't do wrong things. Innate only does right things. Mm-hmm. So the prevention part, whenever patients, we talk to them about holding the adjustment, there's 2 main things required to hold the adjustment, but the number one most important thing, we have to be accurate. The more accurate we are, the better they will respond, period. If my intentions are great, but my accuracy and protocols and everything is crappy, they're not going to get the results, not the ones they should. If my intentions are great and my technique is great and my precision is great, we could have something magical. Or what did BJ call it? The adjustment, that special something. That's what I'm looking for on every case. But part 2 of holding the adjustment is patients do need to be a little careful with it afterwards. So we give them some instructions on how to be careful so that they can help just basically stay cautious while that adaptation of the muscles is starting to shift around the new alignment to hold longer. But people hold our adjustments long periods of time. My last Atlas adjustment was actually over 7 years ago.
Wow, that's impressive there. Wow.
It's wonderful. I don't even remember what it's like to be subluxated.
Wow. Oh, wow. That's even more impressive.
Yeah,
yeah, it's cool.
Yes. Yeah. So, Dr. Pierce, what are the highlights of your career?
You know, you can look back to stuff like how cool it was to be recruited to Dubai. You could look back to Shark Tank stuff. You could look back to awards and things. I mean, those are highlights. But like my favorite, the thing I geek out on the most, like the thing that makes me so charged, is when a student in chiropractic school has trained and really mastered our protocols and knows how to use the tech. And then all of a sudden they start getting the miracle cases on most every case. I know we got something. Mm. That's where I really get excited. I'm all chilled right now. That's where I get most excited, most emotional, is when I see the duplication. Because what's been happening is the students who have been trained in Epic when they're in the school clinic, they're not only getting such good results, but they're getting the referrals, not just from the patients, but from clinic doctors, from other students struggling with cases. And they're booming successful because the results that chiropractic is supposed to generate are supposed to do that. You know, BJ blew chiropractic onto the world's map. How did he do that? It was through the adjustment of that special something, those great results. If we had more of that, we would have a better chance of getting more people coming in.
Love that, man. So man, I can sense. I mean, we can sense your passion that you have for for your profession, and actually and other people, and how much you want to see people get better, right? I mean, through your care and your processes is excellent. I mean, I love it. I love it. I mean, you have chills. I have chills as well, as sitting here listening, to you explain or tell us, what are you passionate about, in an accomplishment.
It's so much fun, man, watching I don't want to get too spiritual on this stuff, but it's really amazing watching God's hand of favor when you're on point, when you're in the lane you're supposed to be driving, when you found your purpose and your calling and you're committed to it. You guys have mentioned something there also about some challenges. That was one of the first questions, and I didn't touch on this too much, but it kind of leads into something of interest, and that is, as an individual, the biggest challenge is you got to have thick skin. You have to be focused on your purpose relentlessly. And the society this day, and kind of some of the people coming out of some of the mindsets being taught in some of the schools to these younger kids, not only in our chiropractic schools, but in general, we got a lot of weaklings out there. I mean, we got softies. They're soft. They're not strong in their core convictions. They don't know who they are. They're more concerned about, let me look unique than am I grounded. And they don't respect their the older generations. They don't see foundations in faith as being something of value. It's difficult for them.
Yes.
But there are many of them that rise up through it and become the strong leaders. So if you're going to head up a technique, or if you're going to actually make a big impact in chiropractic, you have to have very thick skin. You can't let people rock, because I have so many people trying to knock me off purpose. So many. And most of them are my bigger enemies or challenges are from inside our profession, not from outside. Easily not from outside. Like from outside the profession, we have incredible support. Incredible. We are one phone call away from Governor Ron DeSantis if we need to get a hold of him. We have connections with Lee Dundas and some of the top politicians. There are powerful people getting behind us. There's a group that's building a $1 billion integrative healthcare facility in Miami and other places, and they are bringing Epic in. You mentioned earlier about your goal. One of your goals when we were talking was that you wanted to see chiropractic more accessible and integrated. Well, how do you do that? You got to position it right. Yes. And so when you say 8% of the healthcare system is accessing chiropractic and 92% is not buying our current product, we have to rebrand that product. You don't veer away from it and say, no, I'm going to start doing PT and supplements and other things, and I'll do a little chiropractic too, or a little adjusting on the side. No, like chiropractic, the one unique differentiator is we're the subluxation detectors and correctors. That's it. Nobody else does that. So rather than being kind of general doctors and doing all kinds of other things that other people do, if we just got amazing with our adjustments that nobody else could touch our results, you can parallel and align yourselves right alongside the medical field. They will refer you like crazy. We blew it up in Dubai. We blow it up kind of everywhere we go, not because we're arrogant jerks, but we're really clear on who we are and who we are not. And they want to send you their people because they can't clear subluxations. But you've got it. So one of the rebrand parts is if 92% of people are not buying what the profession's selling, what could be unique? Well, things like customizing for epigenetics and misalignments, spinal engineering, that's unique. The use of math, that's unique. The use of a 3-axis laser-guided sound wave instrument, that's unique. It's a talking point. It's a selling point. So Epic leverages tech. The future is technology. This is not debatable. So if we're going to get people to wake up to our profession as a current, progressive, futuristic form of healthcare, we have to embrace some of these things that we have fought. And can't just say, well, we wish it were different. No, we make it different. So that's kind of where we're going on things. And when you're innovating like that, you just got to have that thick skin. And don't let the deniers or the haters, even inside our profession, throw you off your game. And you got to stay humble in those innovations because we're not the healers.
Yes, definitely.
We're not the healers.
Yes, no, we're not. People
And
don't.
it does what it does. We just got to release that guy, get him going.
Yes, definitely.
So, Dr. Pierce, what habits have you embedded to help you succeed, and what lessons have you taken from them?
I listen a lot. I'm talking right now a lot because it's a podcast, but I like to pay attention. I like to see where people are going with things. I listen to people outside of our technique. No one technique has all the answers. I love looking at what other techniques are saying and doing, and how can we see what is more right in that approach and bring some of that rightness in. So Epic is actually a kind of a convening of all the upper cervical concepts into a single approach. So like the Blair technique talks about genetic uniquenesses, and they measure 2 to 3 different uniquenesses in the suboccipital region. Epic has the epigenetic assessments, and we measure 23 right now. We'll be moving forward with 3D imaging, and we'll be on numbers 24 and 25 very quickly. But we bring in that techniques mindset in there, different biomechanics, different innovations of the Grostic technique used degree-specific measuring. We apply that. Dr. Sweat used a sound wave instrument. We apply that. Like we've brought in different concepts, and then as you aggregate the good concepts in our profession, you'll find that they're more powerful together than apart. And yet it's very difficult to get people willing to listen to each other. So in Epic, that's one of my attributes. I try to listen, be open-minded. I listen a lot and pay attention a lot outside our profession, though. That's the unique part.
Mm-hmm.
Most people are always looking, and chiropractors are known for getting into their circles and then talking about how great we are. Many of our upgrades and innovations are not going to be found inside our profession. They'll be outside our profession. And so I have a lot of collaboration outside the profession to make sure that we're seeing what's coming down the pipeline. I'm always looking for the tech innovations and the diagnostic innovations and just seeing how we can bring that in. Responsibly, though, not just for the sake of change, but for the sake of progressing specificity of subluxation-based care. I'm a huge subluxation fan. And I like it, but that's our bread and butter. And if we're not going to be great at that, what are we doing?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Thank you very much for that. You have filled us with joy, information, and education, and subluxation, and also your Epic Genesis technology. That is great. Awesome. Yeah, we love it. It is awesome. Hey, what would be the the one piece of a advice or nugget of information you would want to leave with the listeners?
You have to program your mind to win. You have to. So in our profession, there's scarcity mentality, there's a fear mentality. Who's going to take what away from me? Am I going to get audited by Medicare? Is the chiropractor down the road going to take all my patients? There's a fear model, and it forces people to do things that isn't healthy for them. You have to program your mind to win. You have to know you were meant to be a winner. In my past, I had a lot of victories in different things, sports, life, but I've also had a lot of failures, more failures than victories. And you can't let the failures and the losses change your mindset. So if you're feeling down, that's your fault. If you're feeling depressed and discouraged, that's on you. If you're feeling like you're alone, you're not. But people that go into those places, sometimes they stay there, and it's hard to bring them out because it's not your job to bring them out. So I would always encourage people, listen to as many uplifting, positive, encouraging things as you can. Surround yourself with positive people. Listen to positive podcasts. Get around successful people and learn those attributes. But the biggest one is the mindset of success, because our profession needs to be more and be more to more people. But that only comes from winning and driving victory. So that would be my biggest piece of advice.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. That was great. Love it, man. This is great. So Dr. Stan, how can our viewers and listeners get a hold of you, to find out more about your epigenetics machine, Genesis machine, or even yourself to get adjustments, or even to your symposium that you have,
Well, Symposium's awesome. Symposium's although it's our Epic annual conference, only about 15-20% of it is Epic. The rest of it is great chiropractic, great integrative healthcare for bringing chiropractic to the forefront of the healthcare system. So we have every chiropractor that ever comes to our symposium, they're just like, oh my gosh, that was powerful, and it was diverse in its perspectives and famous people I never would have met otherwise. And we had the NFL Alumni Association at our last conference, and they're talking about how we can be helpful for concussions. We have multiple veterans associations, not-for-profits. We had Governor Ron DeSantis, executive director of the whole VA in Florida, speak about how chiropractic and Epic can be more helpful for veteran care. Symposium's amazing, and we do CE credits and stuff. So how you find out about that is you go to epicclinics.com, and that will connect you with most of our different trainings, but also explain to you about Epic, explain about the instrument, explain about the protocols and the systems of care, patient-friendly, doctor-friendly. Getting a hold of me, our clinic is in Clearwater, Florida, #1 beach in the country. Just saying. And the number there is 727-223-9970. My email, I'll give you my personal email. I don't usually do that, but I will for your podcast listeners. stanpierce99@gmail. Actually, dr.pierce@epicclinics.com is the professional one, but if you have a personal thing you need to reach out to me, I gave you both. Don't normally do that, but there you go.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Pierce. We definitely appreciate you joining us today on the Reidox4life Podcast Show. Again, we're your hosts. I'm Levi, and this is Lamika Renee. And Dr. Stan Pierce is the man in Clearwater, Florida. Reach out and get that subluxation adjusted. Thank you very much, Doctor, for joining us today.
Thank you, guys. You're wonderful.
Excellent. Hey, and thank you, viewers, for listening, too. We definitely appreciate you. Sorry about that, dear.